Well, good morning, everyone. Here we are in Florence, Massachusetts, a village 2.5 miles, 3 miles north of Northampton. And we're going to talk this morning about the Northampton Association of Education and Industry, a long name for a utopian community that was established here in April of 1842. People came here to band together for women's rights, for the rights of African Americans, and one of the most unique features of the Northampton Association was that women and African Americans had an equal say in what went on here. At one point there were as many as probably 180 people living here. 240 total people lived here at one time or another. We're up here on a corner that actually was a place that this community moved to after their days of intense intercooperation, which ended in 1846. Many of the people that were around at the end of the association, its 4.5-year run, decided they wanted to stay here. And we're up in the neighborhood the bulk of them moved to right now. And this is also where Sojourner Truth moved to. And we're right at the site of her statue. She lived a little ways down Park Street from where we're standing now. And she came here in 1843, fairly early on in the community's life. And when she saw the place, it was such a hard scrabble, difficult kind of existence these people were eking out for themselves that she only was going to stay a day and move on. But because she became inspired, like many others, with the nobility of their character, basically, for standing for the principles they wanted to stand for at that point, she stayed on here in Florence for 14 years. So one question we might ask ourselves is, why did Sojourner Truth pick the Northampton Association as a place to stop? The association began as a grouping of abolitionists who were, in a sense, disciples of William Lloyd Garrison, who had founded The Liberator in 1831, which was really the first magazine calling for the immediate emancipation of the slaves. This was a totally radical notion in Massachusetts, which really wasn't as radical as we like to think of our state at this point. But so here, Garrison had met the sister of George W. Benson down in Brooklyn, Connecticut. They would work together on an anti-slavery case down there, the Prudence Crandall case, which we may talk about at some point. And so Benson heard about this place up here and decided, with Samuel Hill, with William Adam, with David Mack, other abolitionists and industrialists really, that they were going to form a community here and actually fight slavery from this vantage point. This was like an outpost of Boston. Garrison's center was in Boston. Here was an outpost where they could get a little respite out in the country, gather their strength as they went out on the circuit speaking against slavery. So many people, Erasmus Darwin Hudson, a very interesting character, came here as a member and wasn't here that often. He would be here for a while, talk with his compatriots, and then go off on a speaking tour. After a certain point, Sojourner Truth herself, somewhat after the community broke up, Garrison realized that here was a figure. She was almost 6 feet tall. She was a spellbinding speaker and singer. And so he encouraged her both by helping her publish her narrative, but also realized that she would be great out on the stump. So he and Wendell Phillips and others encouraged her to do that. Frederick Douglass came here on occasion. We know of maybe 3 or 4 times he came to the association, and he had published his narrative in 1845. And so that became something she looked at, I believe, as a way for her to make a little money without having to work for white folks in their houses as a domestic. And so when she was out on the stump, she would do that, sell her little narrative, give her speeches, and also sell pictures of herself. I sell the shadow to support the substance was what she spoke about when she was trying to sell the cards out there. Now we're going to move on from this spot dedicated to Sojourner Truth and see some of the other sites that relate to the utopian community here in Florence. And one of the great things about Florence is that there are a lot of them, so we will have to actually pick and choose some of the best.